Good morning, everyone. Just going to give it a minute to let as many people as possible in. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, introducing you to Logiqc Mobile. Logiqc Mobile is the powerful new mobile solution designed to streamline your business operations and boost efficiency, and all of that's right at your fingertips. Today, I have the privilege of introducing you to another of our team. We are thrilled to have our Chief Technology Officer, Damien Turnbull, with us here today to personally walk you through how Logiqc Mobile can transform the way you work. Damien is the creator of the app, and he has spent countless hours developing an app that I am sure will meet all of your expectations. So welcome, Damien.
Thank you very much, Liz, and it's really good to talk to everyone today, particularly about the Logiqc Mobile app, which we're all very excited about.
Awesome. Okay, guys, before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today, and I'd also like to pay my respect to elders past and present. You all know me, so no reason for me to introduce myself, but a little bit more about Damien. He is driven by a genuine passion for software engineering and delivers well-architected, high-quality products with strong focus on user experience design. So really everything we're looking on for in our Logiqc application. He has extensive experience in renowned software companies, both in Australia and abroad, and that makes him uniquely qualified to continue to build exceptional solutions for us and all of you. So again, just welcome, Damien. We are so happy to have you here.
Thanks, Liz.
Before we begin, just a reminder, we will record the session, so just sit back and relax and absorb everything that Damien's going to tell you. We'll send everyone a copy, whether you are here today or whether you've registered. We'll pop all the questions that anyone might have into a Q&A, so please, anything you do have, pop it in that Q&A panel. If we don't get to it by the end of the session, we will answer your questions. We will give you a response. So let's get straight into it. I'll get started with my first question for Damien. Damien, why did we build a Logiqc Mobile app?
Oh, great question to start with, Liz. I think it really came from our customers. You know, we were listening and we understood that, you know, a lot of users of the Logiqc system are not at their desk and often on the road, visiting patients and the likes, working in the field. And we needed to provide an easier way to, you know, capture information on the go and in real time, but also provide information in the same facility. So we felt a mobile app was the best way to provide that, given that people are all walking around with little computers in their pockets these days. The truth is, you could always access the Logiqc system through your mobile device. It was always through the browser. But we found by providing a native mobile application experience, it provided other advantages that we could leverage. In particular, the one where we can capture information when you're offline. A lot of our users, as we discovered, work in remote areas and internet access is not always available. So we felt it was really important to be able to provide that functionality within the application. And so that means you can capture the likes of an incident or a piece of feedback with or without internet connectivity, which is really important. The other advantages that we got too out of the mobile app was that we could integrate a little bit more closely with things like cameras and other device peripherals. I think that'll evolve over time, but accessing the camera, you know, these days, these phones, wow, they can take photographs the size of, you know, your wall at home. And the truth is we actually don't need images to be that size. And so we can actually then resize them a little bit more and make them a bit more digestible when we're uploading them to the server. But more importantly, the mobile app gave us an opportunity to really hone in on the user experience and making it as user-friendly as we possibly can. A lot of Logiqc users are what I would describe as ad hoc users, particularly those people who are reporting incidents and the likes. And we needed to make a piece of software which was recognizable when they haven't used the system for a number of months or potentially even years. And so we've come up with a really intuitive design through this native mobile interface, I should say. And it's also finger friendly. I've got fat fingers and I'm always making mistakes using web applications and so forth through the app, through the browser. But with the mobile app, we've obviously designed it with that in mind. And today I can demonstrate to you that we feel is a really easy little application to use. So that's really where we've come from. The other thing that we really wanted to address as well is the ability to not capture all information at once. And so we recently introduced what we call draft functionality into the product, and that then flows through to the mobile app, which is really important because you can actually quickly capture some information, whether it's a photograph or just the details, save as draft, and then at the end of the day, when you walk back to your desktop and so forth, you can actually then load up that information and finish completing the form. So that's important as well. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a rundown as to why we built it and why we're excited about it. And hopefully that answers your question, Liz.
Oh, it does. Thanks, Damien. So just to clarify, we no longer have to go onto the browser. So where do we get the app?
Great question. The app is available in both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. The application UI is exactly the same in both experiences. So whether you're an Apple user or an Android user, it does not matter. You'll get to see the app in exactly the same light. But yes, that's where you'll find it. It is important when you're in the Apple App Store in particular, you do search for the word Logiqc Mobile. Apple, unfortunately, doesn't like the fact that you can just type in like the word logic and it doesn't always display. So just keep that in mind for those users that are out there. We'll also distribute QR codes as well, which you'll see in our knowledge base material and other material that Elizabeth actually provides you. And that'll just make it a bit easier for users to scan a QR code using the device camera, which will take them to the app stores to then download the application. Once the application is installed, we will ask our users to enter what we call the little subdomain, which is the first part of the Logic platform URL. That's pretty easy, hopefully, to identify. And then once that's connected, then you log in using your normal username and password.
Right. Damien, before we ask you to give us a bit of a demo about the app, just for our users that have single sign-on, do they have something that they need to talk to the network administrator about?
Yeah, great question. The answer is yes. We do support single sign-on for those organizations who are using Microsoft Entra and managing all their users and accounts in that way. And that includes obviously the Logic web platform, but that now transcends down to the mobile app. We do need our system administrators to get a couple of little switches on in the Microsoft Entra environment. So before you can use the mobile app, we do ask that is done. And we'll provide instructions on how to do that. Some of that information has already been dispersed. You may have missed that. So Elizabeth will provide that again in a little information pack after this meeting.
Okay, Damien, we have all been waiting. Can we see what it looks like, please?
Absolutely. So just give me a second. I'm going to share my little, what I call emulator on my screen. Elizabeth, can you just confirm you can see that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Terrific. All right. Well, welcome everyone to our Logic Mobile application. What you're looking at is a logged in user experience. So this is the landing tab of the application. The interface itself is really broken into what we call the home tab, which is this experience here where we have a selection of quick actions where you can quickly record feedback, improvements, instance repairs. That is the extent of the functionality in terms of capturing information within the app at this point in time. We'll talk a little bit more about how the application will evolve in the future. So we've got our quick actions, we have our recent documents. These are documents that we've recently viewed within the application. So not only is the app designed to capture our reporting information, but we can also access our corporate documents and see that information on the go, which is pretty powerful. And then down the bottom here is also the area of the screen where we can access our drafts. And so this comes back to the example I had earlier, where you might want to just capture some information now, save it as a draft, and then at a later point in time, come back into it really easily and quickly, and then complete the form. And again, you can do that on the mobile app, or you can do it back on the web application as well. The interface itself is navigatable through the bottom tabs. You can see here where I'm now moving to what we call the history tab. So any items that you've actually created through the application or on the web for that matter will appear here. These includes both drafts and submitted, and you can do a quick search if you need to. Over here on this particular tab, we have our documents. This is where you can actually move through your document categories or types. And then in doing so, you can actually see the documents appear. As I actually click on each category, I can see a listing of those documents. I can then view those documents. I can search them, or you can come back here and do a global search as well. So at the top of the screen, we have our search here where I can type in certain characters and obviously get a result. So as you get a result of those particular documents, you can then click on them to actually get a read-only version of the document presented to you, and that then will appear in your most recently viewed list, both there and also in your recent documents list back on the Home tab. So hopefully that sort of explains the documents. And then moving to the right-hand side here, we have our settings tab where you can actually do a few other little bits and pieces like log out of the system. We have a support area, which is only required if you need to contact us for any additional help. There is a dark mode setting for those of you who prefer to see the application in more of a dark theme style, look and feel, and that helps too, particularly in nighttime settings or just on your eyes. I like working with dark mode personally, but for those who don't, you can switch that back off as well. Switch system is just something we use for some clients. There won't be many who need to actually connect the app to more than one Logiqc system. We use it a fair bit internally as well, so it's not something that you'll use on a daily basis. Great. And then, of course, we've got this yellow circle in the middle is what we call our floating action button. This allows us to actually create reporting incidents and improvements and feedback and so forth from any of the tabs. So it is a duplication of what we have in our quick actions on the Home tab, but you can see here, even if I'm on the History tab, I can quickly click on my floating action button to then give me the ability to record any of those items. Great. So what I'm going to do is, sorry.
No, I just wanted to ask a question, but keep going. I'll wait till the end.
All right, no worries. All right, so just give you a bit of an experience what it feels like to actually capture a piece of information within the system. You can see here, I'll just click on that. This is the particular feedback form that we have. You can see here, it's all, again, finger friendly. This is our drop-down experience. All of the functionality that you see and experience on our web platform is available in the mobile app, and that includes also permissions and security, which is quite important. Our Logiqc system is very configurable as well. Even today, you're probably looking at fields on the screen which your organization may necessarily not use. For example, related service or program, region. These are fields which can optionally be turned on or off. So again, these won't appear in your system if you don't have them switched on, but I just want to make the point that it does replicate whatever the web application is doing in terms of field control. And you can see down the screen here, we're then moving through all those wonderful fields that you might be familiar with if you're using our feedback register, including related business areas, related meetings, and so forth. The good news is for those of you who are using our business rule functionality, all of that capability will also apply. So that actually helps our users fill in these forms automatically. A lot of these fields like meetings and access control and so forth can be preset based on different categories and so forth that you're filling out. Adding persons, you can see how simple it is in terms of, again, adding a person in against the feedback, genders, ethnicity, if I can say that word correctly. All the fields that I'm sure that you'd be pretty familiar with is now presented. Obviously, the addition too of just the normal form experience is attaching photos. I think with the mobile app, it provides you with a greater capability of actually capturing photos. So whether it's for an incident or it's for a repair, I suspect that you'll get more use out of capturing photos. And then in the future, we'll be able to present those photos to you in certain reports as well. Capturing photos is really simple. I can either take it from my photo library or I can actually take a photo here. My little Android emulator will show a nice little example here. And then I'll just take that photo. That'll capture that, put it there. I can still see it view full screen if I want to, or I can delete it if I need to. And you can take as many photos as you want, really. So that just gives you a little bit of an example of the form experience. You can see here, I've got my saved draft. Now, without our saving of draft, we always expect some details. So this is feedback for today. Now we have to enter that in, but once I've entered that field in, that's when I can actually save my draft. And you can see it'll actually, at this point in time, save the information. It'll send it up to the server. So if you actually want to drop onto the feedback item through your web application now. When you're back at your desktop or PC, you can do that. But it doesn't take you away from the form. It also helps you, stay, within the context of the feedback that you're providing. So if you want to fill out more fields and not lose that information, you can do that. So if I was to now move out of that feedback form, having saved a draft, you'll see that that's now available in my draft list here. So again, going back to my example earlier, I need to jump back into that at a later point in time throughout the day. I click on the feedback item, and then I can continue filling out the forms. Now we have this concept of what we call submission. So when we've filled out all of our fields, we would then submit the form. At that point in time, it is no longer a draft item. It's submitted into the system, and all the rules that apply around our workflow will then start to initiate. When I click submit, it will highlight the fields that are mandatory, and it will actually take you to those fields as well. So as you can see here, if I keep clicking submit, it will keep scrolling to the fields that are actually not filled in, and I'm just picking anything out at the moment just to keep the meeting moving. You can see our little timer control popping up again as well. Again, all very finger friendly. No action required, no action here. So eventually I get to my submit. A lot of fields being filled out. As I mentioned earlier, with business rules, a lot of these fields can be defaulted, so it's not nearly as slow and cumbersome as I might be making it out to be now. Access control, do I want to set it to be just for the CEO? Do I want it to be all? Again, I can choose that. And once I click submit, it then gives you an opportunity just to review the information, like the summary, before you actually do submit it. And then once I do click on submit, that then will actually save the information that'll be transferred to the server, of course. And if you look in our history tab here, you will actually be able to see there it is entered into the system. It's now in a read-only state. You cannot edit it. And that's the general sort of process for how we capture that information. Again, for improvements, instance repairs, all very, very, very similar. It's instance obviously a little bit more involved because we're capturing more information. You can see here we're getting into the types, areas. You can see we can actually do the assign of severity ratings as well. Again, that pulls all from your configuration on how your organization's been set up to use Logic, persons involved, equipment, etc., etc. So I won't go through all that again, but you can see it's a very similar experience. I think too with permissions, I just want to talk a little bit about that. We follow the same rules in terms of licensing and permissions in the mobile app as we do in the web application as well. So if you don't have certain registers purchased, or you're not using them, or you don't have certain users allowing to create certain items, all that is followed within the mobile app. So you'll see some things start to disappear. If you're not using a repair register, for example, then of course the raise repair option will disappear out of the mobile app. Other than that, we then have really starting to get into the realm of what we're going to be doing next. And so I think today what I've given you is a snapshot of what we've built to date, and it's a great stepping stone for where we're going to move the application in the future. So hopefully that gives you a good little feel for the functionality that we're providing as of today, and hopefully you get great use out of that. I'm really excited to hear how your users are using it and whether you're getting benefit. I mean, for me, it's all about accessibility and being able to capture information in real time. So it'll be interesting to see whether you can achieve that in your organizations when you're using the app. Elizabeth, is there anything in particular that you wanted me to focus on that I haven't covered off?
I have a question, and then there's a couple of questions in the Q&A. So we'll get to those. But before we move on to what's coming next, I just wanted to ask a question, because I know that lots of our users, when you do have your mobile, sometimes you can just record something. You can just speak into it and it translates to text. Would we be able to do that in here?
Yeah, great question. It's such a powerful feature on all mobile devices these days. So when I'm in that description field, an incident may have occurred, and now I've got to use my thumb, or if I'm clever, I can use a couple of fingers to type out all the details of it. But you can see there's a little microphone option on your keyboard. If you do use that, you can actually then just talk. And the speech to text functionality within our devices these days is exceptional. And you should find that majority of your words, if not all, will come out as text for you. So any field which is a text field, you can use that feature, and I would highly encourage it. It'll be particularly useful for your mobile users, who may even want to record information, whether it's in the car or on the fly. Really powerful feature, and one not to forget. I often forget it myself as a mobile app user and other applications and so forth, but it's one to get used to, I reckon.
Thanks, Damien. So if anyone else was on the previous webinar, you will have the same question as I do. Status draft form was obviously leading to mobile. So what can we expect to come next after Logiqc Mobile?
Yeah, great question. And we're really excited about this new feature set that we're building. It's really focused all around audits and the ability to construct your own audit forms within Logiqc and have questions and answers recorded through the audit process. So the mobile app development was really driven by that, but we wanted to actually provide value to our users today as the audit functionality is still going to require us a fair bit of time to build throughout this year. So the audit functionality, if you can imagine, you'll be able to come onto your mobile app, you'll be able to create a new audit, you'll be able to inspect whatever that audit is, whether it's vehicle inspections, whether it's water temperature checking, whatever you guys are actually doing within your organizations from an audit perspective, you'll be able to carry out through your mobile app. It's particularly exciting too because it'll take you into a new realm of data analytics in terms of understanding which questions are failing often, which audits are failing quite regularly, and seeing trends around that information as well. And we'll be able to link it back then to some of our standards and the questions within them and get some real interesting insights as to which questions are failing and how does that then lead to improvement. So that's really exciting. It's a huge amount of work for us, but you'll see it both in mobile and web probably towards the end of the year. And I think the other space that I'll be really interested to explore with yourselves as well is AI and how that sort of fits into mobility. I think the AI movement is just incredible in terms of some of the efficiency gains that pretty much all sectors throughout the world now is seeing. And I know that health is starting to actually pick up on it as well. I think having the mobile app is a platform to really start to expand upon how that technology can be adopted, in the health space. So that's going to be very interesting. I think a lot of it will be listening to yourselves and understanding how you think it can benefit. We have some own ideas as well, but again, it's all up for grabs. And I think we'll be listening closely to yourselves as to what else we should be building within the app. Functionality that I haven't covered off today. Perhaps you're thinking, oh, geez, it would be great if we did this, or, oh, that's disappointing you didn't do that. Very, very keen to hear all about that. I really want the roadmap for our mobile app to be really, heavily influenced by yourselves and the users who are using it. And so where it ends up, I don't know, but it's certainly on a great path. And this is at the start of the journey, not the end. And so we'll continue to build it out as we need to serve yourselves and your organization.
Awesome. Thank you, Damien. I have so many questions in the Q&A panel. So I'm going to ask, if you haven't popped your question in there yet, please do so. We've got a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to try and get it through as many as possible. But any that Damien doesn't answer right now or I miss, we will go through them meticulously and make sure that everyone has an answer. So Damien, I have a question from Sally, and she just wanted to know whether the yellow button at the bottom, the action button, whether that will change into a create button so it's the same as the platform.
Oh, that's a great question, Sally. Our little create button, and you can call this a create button if you wanted to even now, like you can see it is creating, it's allowing you to add feedback or improvements or instance and repairs. Now, the floating action button, as we call it, it is going to be morphing into something different towards the end of the year. We are, I guess, evaluating its purpose at the moment, particularly around things like related items. It's a piece of functionality that I think a lot of clients have been looking for, how you can relate more than one register item to another. That is definitely on our roadmap for this year. And of course, the floating action button at the moment, it sort of serves that purpose, but it's also serving another purpose, which is creating. So Sally, you're quite right. We recently introduced a create button in the web platform right at the top right-hand corner of the application. And that was really the start of our journey to start to almost retire that floating action button, or at least move it into a different form. So at the moment with the mobile app, it's very much centered around being able to create feedback, create improvement, create incident, create repair. And that's where we have landed at this point in time. So hopefully that answers your question, Sally.
Okay, so just big props to Sol, who submitted a repair and found it quite easily. Well done, Sol. That's amazing. And I have a question from Carl, and Lydia responded to that as well. They wanted to know if we can access admin mode from the mobile app. I said not at this stage, but you can further answer that question.
Wow, what a great idea! It's not even one that came up on our radar, to be honest with you. But it's fascinating to hear that you've got that idea. It would be interesting to learn like why and what is it that what is it that you're trying to achieve by changing administrative functions through the mobile app. So we can talk about that after this meeting, but it's a fascinating question. We can't support that at this point, but it's certainly something that we could explore.
Great. Thanks, Damien. Gail wants to know whether you will be able to identify when the mobile was used instead of the desktop when the form is submitted.
Yeah, that's a great question too. Look, it's probably not something that we have exposed through the UI at this point in time. We do capture that information in our database, but it's not something that we've got flowing through the user interface on the web application in particular. I think we've got to do a better job of that, and it's something that's on our radar. We do, as I said, we do capture which user's doing what and how they're doing it. But I think we've got a little bit more work to do to sort of say, hey, this one came from mobile.
Great. Elena is wanting to know that will the item that you've submitted show the date and time it was originally created, or the actual date and time for the draft? Yeah, okay. I'm going to read it. You've got it.
I think I understand the question. We do both within the system, and so what we're doing is we're recording obviously the date and time of when the item was added into the system, but more importantly, we also record the date and time of the instance. So right now it's the 23rd, it's 11:26 my time. Now I can actually record an incident from yesterday, and so that time does not have to coincide with what the time is now for yourself or for the user who's actually capturing it. They're two very separate things. So we record both, and you should see in the system, both as well. But I think you'll find that it's this particular day and time which is more important, particularly for an incident, I would have thought. So that's what we're doing at the moment. So hopefully that answers your question.
I think she's wanting also to know that when the item is created in the system's event history, will that be the date that the person pressed saved as draft, or once it's submitted into Logic, into the platform?
Right. So in terms of update, we keep history logs of when the data is actually moving around. So we've got what we call internal creation dates as well as last updated date. So it's a sort of a combination of the two. And then in addition, of course, we've got the actual event date. So whether we're exposing all that information to the UI, I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. So we'd have to find that out for you. But we are, we've got the both sets of date time. So creation date versus last updated date. So we should be able to expose that if we're not already, but it's something we'll have to dig into a little bit more.
Okay, so Serena wants to know if you have bespoke features on your feedback or incident register, will the mobile form always reflect exactly what your form on your platform looks like? So if there's additional features that you have, that's going to translate. Is that correct?
Yeah, depending on which pieces we're talking about, but we've done a really good job of trying to match exactly what the web interface is and how that functionality performs and the fields involved and so forth. There is a little bit of a caveat for those who are using what we call our VIMS integration. We haven't been able to support that within the mobile app, but for all the other fields that we do support in web, we also support in mobile. So touch wood, I'd like to think that we've got them all covered off, and that should reflect everything that you've got in your web logic, or should I say the Logic web interface.
Alrighty, that's great. Thanks, Damien. I'm just getting through all of this. Okay, Serena's saying she would like access to admin mode because she would like to be able to add users to the platform when she's not at work and she's got access either via her phone or her laptop. So that's a really good thing for us to consider.
Okay.
And Sally then married onto that and said, yeah, equally important if they have to deactivate a user quite quickly.
Okay, great feedback. Thank you very much for that.
Mobile app, yeah, absolutely can run on tablets like the iPad Pro. That's
Yeah,
not a
definitely.
problem?
Absolutely. So no problem with tablet usage, and I use it on my big fat iPad Pro as well, and it's a great experience actually. I think for those organisations who don't, want users to be using their own phones and things like that, and you're rolling out smaller sort of format tablets, the Logic application is really good for that.
Awesome. Okay, guys, I know that you're all super busy, so just going to reiterate, the slide that you're seeing now has the knowledge base article, which is really good and covers of everything that Damien spoke about today. There's also 2 screenshots about what your application is going to look like in either of your Google Play Store or Apple. A reminder that you will get all of this information, but if you do have any other questions, please email us at support@Logiqc or at customersuccess@Logiqc. Even if you email me directly, I'll make sure that Damien gets all your comments and all your feedback and any other questions that you might come up with. This is super new, so jump in there, go download the app, try, play around, let us know your thoughts, Damien, as we all are super open to hearing what everyone has to say. So I would just like to say thank you for everyone that was here today, but especially Damien, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and tell us all about your little Logic baby. We're so happy that it's finally there and people can start using it.
My absolute pleasure, Liz, and it was great to talk to everyone today.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time. Everything will start flowing out today. Have a fabulous day, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.